Hey there everybody, what's up? Kevin here from the My Song of the Day Rock 2000 to Today YouTube channel, and today's another installment of trying to figure out if I like a certain band or not, and this time, it's Babymetal. So I started out this series about a couple weeks ago when I tried figuring out my feelings on Dance Gavin Dance because I didn't really have any strong opinions on the band because I never really listened to their music, so I thought let's do this type of series where I try and figure out if I like the band or not. And Babymetal is the perfect candidate because one of our top friends on My Song Day Rock 2000 Day, his name is Julian, is a huge Babymetal fan and always talks him up, and I thought, well, I'd never really listened to Babymetal that much. And that was because during earlier versions of our Instagram live streams, a lot of people were talking about Babymetal in a negative light, so I thought, I really don't know how to feel about Babymetal, so time for me to figure it out for myself, and especially with the metal community being polarized on them, with some people absolutely loving them, some people really disliking them, I thought, it's time for me to figure this out for myself. But before we get into it, please follow My Song of the Day Rock 2000 Day on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's a great way to connect with us with all the stuff we do, talk about music with us, and really get in a conversation with us and the other fans. Also, subscribe to this YouTube channel because, well, you get YouTube videos every single Wednesday of content regarding rock music, album reviews, metal, whatever it might be. And please follow and subscribe to the Chord Progression Podcast right here on this YouTube channel and on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. It's a great podcast where we get to dive deep in with bands that are just about to break out in the scene, so you get a front row look at them for the biggest bands coming up in the 2020s. So please get on that, follow that, become part of our community, and let's get on with the show. So the first thing we have to look at with Babymetal is how they sound. And when I take a look at their sound, it's like a fusion between Japanese idol and Japanese pop and heavy metal. So when you take a look at what a Japanese idol is, it is a type of entertainer that is manufactured molded to have this massive, basically consumer following, and they are very primarily centered around Japanese pop culture. And why this is important is because when you take a look at the type of sound they work with and their persona and how everything kind of comes together, it's really done within that Japanese idol style. So the band describes their sound as kawaii metal. I hope I said that right, probably not, because kawaii is a Japanese word for cute, so you gotta think cute metal. So that's where the heavy metal part comes in. The cute comes in with the Japanese pop influences, which is kind of a style that's, very centered in Japanese pop style, very upbeat, very more electronic, especially for today. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but it really comes full force here, and we're gonna take a look into it a little bit more. So going into Babymetal sound, I went through all 3 albums and I really want to try and figure it out. And when you take a look at the instrumentation from their backing instrumentals, it is heavy metal to the core, where you're going to have these down-tuned guitars. The pacing is going to be rather rapid, especially from the drum, so it's going to hit hard. And with the drumming, you're not going to have that consistent, double kick, double bass style you're going to get in metalcore. You're going to get more of that driving style that heavy metal has or thrash metal has. So you're going to really kind of get that kind of a sense in there. And the intro to a song like Gimme Chocolate really hits that hard because you just get this straight up heavy metal feel for it. And I think if you're trying to look at the backbone of a song that really fits in there, Gimme Chocolate, the intro specifically, really has it going on. So when you take a look at a song like Papaya, the intro to it has the exact same kind of feel where it's hard hitting, fast paced, down-tuned guitars. It's really going to hit hard on that style. And when I think about it for myself, you know me, I like hard rock, I like punk rock, I really like metalcore as well. And when you mix that harder sound in there, I'm like, yeah, you know what, I really do like it as a base of it because I'm curious to see how they mix it with that cute Japanese pop sound. So that's what we're going to get into next. Now I have to get into the J-pop influences where they're really going to fit them in with the style of the songs. And when I think of the J-pop influences, one thing I'm consistently thinking of is anime and a lot of those anime openings, maybe some more of those anime video game openings. So what I mean by that is I'm not a big anime person. That's just not my thing. I do have friends that really do like it as well. So when I'm thinking about it, I've seen some episodes of some things and they've shown me them, and watching the intros of them and getting that Japanese anime music intro style, I think it really does play well into the hardcore fans of Babymetal for a specific reason on this one. And taking a look at some of the reasons why is because if they really like that anime sound and they're really into that kind of culture, which we'll get into a little bit, yeah, it does fit. So to kind of go off on a little bit more of that anime style, a little bit more of that anime music, let's take a look at some examples. So take a look at the second ever opening for the show Naruto. When you take a look at something like that, it does have the hard rock bass to it, but the Japanese lyrics and the fast pace give it a much lighter sound. And I'm going to butcher this, so I'm going to look down my computer on this. They use the shakuhachi. I think I said that right. It's the Japanese like flute woodwind instrument that really creates that unique sound to it, and kind of putting it in there, you kind of use the Japanese traditional influences with the pop influences, so you can see how that all plays in on this kind of opening. Take a look at a show like Noragami Aragoto. I think I said that right as well. Don't, give me too much flack if I said that wrong. But you listen to it and they have these higher pitched guitars, these higher shredding style guitars. They really do work well with that J-pop style as well, because when you take a look at the traditional Japanese music, they do have those strings that kind of have like a higher pitch to them. Now you just add more electric to them and you add more pace to them and you're going to get that kind of style. I've seen this on video games. I've heard this on video games like Dynasty Warriors 4, and I think it does fit in well here. So now another example of this is a little bit more of a parody example. Take a look at what South Park did on their episode in season 8 when they had the boys playing with ninja weapons. They had a whole entire like anime opening for it, and they had the soundtrack for it. And I think it just is a parody of it. If you take a listen to it, it really has all those tropes of Japanese anime intro music. So to kind of give you a little bit more of a style there, if you want to have like more of an Americanized version of it, that would be a way to go to kind of get a feel for it. So in summary, with the kawaii music style and sound, do I think it's really going to work? And taking a look at it just on paper before really getting into it, my thought process is no. And the reason being is because you have two complete polar opposites with a heavy metal backing where it's a lot harder, down-tuned, and faster pace and just hard hitting, just a lot more of a sinister tone to it, and you're mixing with the cuteness of that J-pop sound. It just isn't going to necessarily work out on paper in my opinion, because I think the contrast is too big. Where it could potentially work on paper is just because the pacing of the styles are very similar, so that's where it could really work out here. But then again, that's on paper. Let me listen to them, and you know what? Let's get into this, shall we? So after listening to Babymetal's discography, I took a listen to it, and my thought process was, there are times that I like what they come out with, and there are times that I really don't like what they come out with. Instance where I really didn't like this is on a song called Line, where taking a listen to the intro especially and then the instrumentation throughout, it had this more prevalent J-pop sound with a high-pitched sound that I thought, this really reminds me of songs that'd be in a video game like Dance Dance Revolution. Had those like video game, platform game, higher pitch tropes, which really kind of took me out of it, because when you're trying to mix it with the metal, it just was way too overpowering and had that way too cute style that for me, I just don't really like. Take a look at a song like Karate. When you put Karate in there, you're going to have this more hard rock bass to it, hard rock timing, but with how high pitched the girls' voices are in this one, for me it takes me out of it just because the contrast is there, but it's so much more focused on the girls' voices and how high pitched they are. For someone like me, I just really don't care for it, so I kind of was like, pass on that one. Now taking a look at a song like From Dusk Till Dawn, and while the song has a more electronic influence to it and has a little bit slower pace, once it gets to the breakdown goes like all dubstep 2011. I'm ready to just throw this one in the trash for me personally, and due to the fact that when dubstep was really a big thing when I was in high school, like 2010, 2011, I could not stand it. I really do not like that computer generated sound, electronic dance music sound. It just does not resonate well with me in the slightest, so I'm like, yeah, that's going to be so prevalent in the song, I'm going to be like, no, get that out of here. Gimme Chocolate is another song that I think is the prime example of the sound I really don't care for from Babymetal, because yes, you get the heavy metal intro, but then once the first verse starts with the girls singing, the high-pitched vocals from them are so cute. It just, the contrast, I like what you're going for, but for me, it just doesn't work out because it's so strongly for that other side. Then you get into the chorus, and it's a lot more anime J-pop style, and it just doesn't necessarily work well with me at all. It takes me out of the song completely. However, one thing I learned from listening to music, especially with something like this, don't listen to the top song or just the top song. Keep going through there, and I gotta thank Motionless in White for that one, because, gotta say, there are some songs that Babymetal has come out with that I actually like. So instances where I like their song was a song like Yuki Yuki Midnight, because they mix the clean and unclean vocals in there, and when you have the clean high pitch and these unclean screams in there, I really like how they played in contrast on this one. I could have gone without the dubstep breakdown, but then again, I already said that, that's just me. Another one is Road to Resistance, where I thought they used that J-pop style and mix it with like a metal style very similar to what Dragon Force would go with. And this one, I love the way the complement worked, because Dragon Force naturally has a little bit more of a higher pitched tone to them and has more of that, J-pop influence, like a video game style influence to them. And you mix it with the J-pop style into Babymetal, it just works all well in contrast and comparison at the same time as well. I really did like Road to Resistance, and I thought it was one of their more solid tracks for me. And a song like Yava, why I like this one is because this is where they mix that J-pop style and the heavy metal instrumentation, and I think just the influences and how they were played off with each other's song were so well balanced that it just was an evenly balanced song. It was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good. Probably the best example of song I really like from them is off of Metal Galaxy with Papa Ya, and the reason I like that one is because the heavy metal is much more prevalent on this song and takes much more of a prominent seat on this one because it's heavy hitting, it's fast paced, and it continues throughout the whole entire song. When you get to the chorus and the girls really put more of that Japanese pop style in there, especially with the vocals and just with the energy, it does work out well because of the energy and the fast pace. However, I do like how the instrumentation takes charge there. When F Hero comes in with his rap verse in the bridge and the breakdown, and you get this whole entire just heavy metal rap rock style to it, man, it really does work out well, and I really like the balance on it because it's heavier hitting. The other thing I like about this song is in the verses, Su-metal goes with a little bit more of a deeper voice, and that just shows with age because as time goes on, your voice gets a little bit lower from when they started out when they were in their mid-teens to now in their early 20s. It happens, and I think that really works well on a song like this. So, Poppy has a good track. So overall, when it comes to Babymetal's sound, do I like it? Do I dislike it? And I gotta say, it's a mixed bag because when they really force it with the J-pop styles and the higher pitched vocals with that kawaii, they really go hard on the kawaii cuteness metal kind of thing of it. I'm not a big fan of it, but that's just because I do not resonate well with that style or with that kind of, sound. But when they focus in on a little bit of the harder style and Su-metal goes a little bit more of a lower vocal style with her more prominent vocals, I think it really does work out well. So I'm more of a grab bag on this one. I'm more split on this one where there's some songs I really like, there's some songs I really don't like, but it's more of like a, roll the dice and see what you get kind of thing for me. So the second part to look at this is the persona of the girls, and because they are the Japanese idols style band, where it's going to be they're built for marketing, they're built to be dancers, to be models, and they're basically built to be pop stars in this kind of way. I kind of take a look at that and see how that worked for me, and this is where I'm coming up with it. So the main objective of Japanese idols is to sell dreams, to kind of sell an escape from reality for the listeners and for the community. And a lot of Japanese pop stars said, I'm going to put a list right here of a couple of examples that you want to look up, especially when it comes to maybe the heavy hitters in J-pop that have been Japanese idols that really do work well with theirs. So boom, there we go. So how does Babymetal's persona really fit into this Japanese idol thing? Now, I didn't know anything about this, so I tried to go down the rabbit hole with this, especially like on Reddit and some forums. So I'm like, let's go take a look at this and let's see what I can come up with, and also taking a look at some pictures and videos as well. So this is what I came up with from an outsider perspective. So let's take a look at their look and how this really pertains. And when you take a look at pictures and live performances, I really do think you can really take and really hone in on that more idol style. So when you take a look at the way they're dressed, they're always dressed in these more, I would say, very classic, very out there anime kind of styles, with a little bit more tighter stuff up top and like these big skirts on the bottom. So it's just, they have this real image to them that really fits in with more of the Japanese culture and with Japanese anime and Japanese pop culture. But one thing I do like about it is taking a look at a lot of the videos, the live videos, the color scheme usually is around black and red, and I really do like that because I like that color scheme and it shows off some more aggressiveness to it, and it just blends in very well. Taking a look at their faces, especially when they're performing, they're always smiling, they're always happy, and the eye makeup really accents their eyes to make them look bigger, which is again very prevalent in Japanese anime and Japanese pop culture, so it does hit on that trope. Then you take a look at the hair. The hair for Su-metal usually is in a ponytail, and for Babymetal and Mo-metal, they kind of have those pigtails going on, so they kind of really have that look going on. So when it comes to the Japanese idol look, do I think they hit on it from an outsider perspective? Yes, I said outsider. Absolutely, I think they hit on it. So when you take a look at their performances now, how does this really tie in with the idol theme? And I really do think it does because it's a lot of high energy, a lot of smiling, a lot of movement, a lot of dancing, and a lot of choreographed style things to really kind of bring out the cuteness of that kawaii metal style. And when it comes to Japanese idol style, yeah, it really hits. Take a look at some of the live videos. Take a look at some of their videos for like the Gimme Chocolate video. I think this really works well, especially when they start singing in the first verse, which I'll actually be showing you guys so you guys get what I'm saying. But I really do think it hits well because it brings the energy, that lighter style energy to it, especially with the backing metal instrumentation. So does it fit? Yeah, I do think it fits. So take a look at some of the other stuff that comes to being with Japanese idols. I don't know a lot about this, so please don't hold me in too much, esteem on this one, because I may have gotten it wrong, because I kind of try to go down a little bit of a Reddit rabbit hole on this. But a lot of people are kind of split on if Babymetal or Japanese idols or not, because when it comes to them, they are much more open with their fans. They're much more connected with their fans than many other Japanese idols would have been. So there is a little bit of a tiff there where the looks and the personas there, but the actions necessarily aren't there. However, their producer Babymetal says they are, so I kind of got to agree with the guy just because, I mean, you're the one that made them, so. So does their persona, does their style really work well with me? And I'm going to say no on this one, because when I grew up, I was really listening to a lot of stuff my dad was listening to. So a lot of the hair metal stuff from the 80s, and I was kind of looking at that with the big kind of persona there. And then now the stuff I listen to, it's really got more of a darker and sinister tone, and bands that kind of have this little extra thing to them, which we'll get to when we go to the next part. I take a look and I'm kind of more into that kind of stuff than the Japanese culture, Japanese pop stylings that Babymetal has. So when it comes to their look and persona, that kind of area does not work well with me. However, where it does work well with me is taking a look at their live videos in the crowd and kind of how this all works in with the crowd to create one hell of a live experience. Would I be willing to go see Babymetal in concert? Absolutely I would. If they ever came to Milwaukee, I would go. If they go to Chicago again, I'll go. If they go to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, will I go? Yeah, because I saw this. It looks like a freaking blast. I'd totally go. So I'm going to jump into the Babymetal fandom and community and really see how their persona with the Japanese idol and J-pop style really plays off of that and how it all works together. Now, I asked my buddy Julian, friend of the podcast, friend of the show, friend of the My Sunny Day page, because he's a huge Babymetal fan, what should I be looking for? And he said, start with the one and go from there. So I'm like, okay, what's the one? So what is the one? I found a great video that explains it. I'll put a link in the description below for it. But what I found from this video was the one is the Babymetal fan club. And what you're able to do with this fan club is you get, exclusive concerts potentially in Japan, exclusive deals on tickets for other concerts that aren't just exclusive in Japan. You get a lot of things that are specific for Japan. So unless you just like the exclusive merch they put out there, you really aren't going to get a lot out of it unless you are consistently frequenting Japan and just consistently going there or live there. So that's kind of what I'm getting off of that. And how you get a part of this fandom is every single year they put out a special item that you have to buy, and when you get the item there's a code on there, you scratch off, put it on the one website, and then boom, you get access to all this stuff. So I like the idea behind it, but it just doesn't seem worth it unless you're in Japan or constantly going there and a huge Babymetal fan. It just doesn't seem like it really works out well in that end. So when it came to figuring out how dedicated the fans are and how big they are, I found a Reddit thread that really kind of put this thing into perspective for me, where the fans are incredibly passionate, but they are polarized, especially after 2018. So there was a major divide in 2018, especially with Babymetal having to depart from the band due to medical issues, and how people were not able to connect with the band much more after that, or in the same manner that they did. I think that's a better way to put it, because they thought that their sound was changing, that they weren't the same band as they were from 2016 or 2014, the one they fell in love with, and they were afraid that, they're not going to add just another third girl just to kind of just balance out and, necessarily replace Babymetal, but kind of just come up with something that could really just hold down the spot for now. They didn't want to see them add more dancers. They didn't want to see them add more backing instrumentals and backing players. So it's just like, well, there's a huge divide there, and people are kind of nervous going forward. So it kind of seems like, people are either accepting of the change or they're really not accepting of a change in Babymetal, especially getting into Metal Galaxy. And when I look at that, I'm like, come on, especially when you're in a pop influenced band, you're definitely going to see stuff like that. I mean, take a look at here in America with boy bands. They're like popular for 5 years, but then they basically are fall off the map after that because things change. People want to go on there and they want to try new things, and it just happens. And take a look at some of the trends as well. The trends never stay the same. Bands are always evolving, especially with Babymetal, because when they started out with their first album, they were like 14, 15 years old. Now you get into today and it's like 21, 22 years old. As time changes, when you go from teen to adulthood, yeah, that's gonna happen. So you gotta cut them some slack on this one, but I can definitely see where the fans are coming from, because when you're so entrenched with a band and all of a sudden you're starting to see a shift, you do get worried and you do get a little bit less supportive of them. You're still going to support them, but you're not going to have that intense fandom that you once did. However, I did also see a good amount of people that really don't like Babymetal, and it's a lot of the fans of, more of the classic heavy metal styles and a little bit more of that harder, more darker tone to it. And I thought, well, why is that? Why don't they like them? And again, I went to the Punk Rock MBA with Finn McKinty, because he had a video of what Babymetal and Poppy reveal about metal fans. and I think he puts a great perspective on it, and I'm going to kind of give you a little bit and kind of add on to it. So here we go. So as Finn calls Babymetal, why they're popular is because while they have music, he says it's good, not great, and I kind of have to agree on that for my personal taste. What really drives them well is the gimmick they have with that kawaii metal, that cute metal style, the Japanese pop style influences, because of how strong that culture is in Japan and how strong that pop culture is around the world, especially people that love anime, video games, Pokemon, I mean, you name it, the fandom is there. So how does that work to make metal fans not like it? And when it comes to metal fans, I really do think that, along with what Finn said, yeah, metal fans really love the gimmicky style to it and just kind of adding on to that, you know, a little bit more marketed style to it. And when it comes down to it, why I don't think they like the Babymetal style is because the Babymetal style has that kawaii, they have the cuteness to it. And with the gimmicks that metal fans really do like, it's more that darker, sinister style that's going to be more shocking to pop culture, more anti-pop culture. Take a look at bands like Gwar that makes it look like they came straight out of hell. Steel Panther, where it's all focused in on that 80s hair metal style. Ice Nine Kills with the whole entire horror trope, and like Finn, I think that is my favorite one of all of them. And then also Slipknot with the mask. So it does play well into there, as, you know, bands that they're metal. They have gimmicks, and those gimmicks do work. And why metal fans like them is because of the dark, sinister tone to them that's more anti-pop culture. And with Babymetal deviating from that norm and going with more that their kawaii metal style, the cuteness style to it, the J-pop style to it, a lot of fans dismiss it right away because it's not what they're used to, so they're just not going to listen to it right away. So when it comes to the metal community, whether it's the one or the rest of the metal community that really doesn't like Babymetal, how do I see it? And I'm kind of just polarized on this one, so I really don't have that much of an opinion, because if it wasn't for that cute gimmick, I probably never would have heard of the band because it stands out so much. However, I do not resonate well with that gimmick, just because the fact of the matter is I'm not into the J-pop style. I'm not into the Japanese culture style as much as some other people are. It's just not really my thing. However, there are times where bands, or their gimmick necessarily isn't my thing, and it does work out well. Take a look at Ice Nine Kills, for example. I don't really like horror movies all too much, but I absolutely love Ice Nine Kills. It just works sometimes. With Babymetal, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so I'm going to say it's a complete wash on this one. So now time to answer the big question. Do I like Babymetal? And the answer is depends, kinda. So I'm going to go with a little bit more of like a kinda yes style. So I take a look at the kinda yes answer. I take a look at two different aspects. One is the music, and it's very polarized with the music, because when we get something like Gimme Chocolate, where it has the lot more Japanese pop influence that are much more prevalent in there, I really don't resonate well with it, and I just don't think that contrast works as well when the J-pop style is so much more prevalent than the heavy metal style. So that's where I really don't want to listen to their music. However, you get a song like Papa Yao where the heavy metal instrumentation is a lot more impactful, and the Japanese pop influence is kind of blended in there a little bit better, or a little bit less prevalent. You know what I gotta say? I really do like that style. And when they go with the lower tone vocals now than they did back then, because again, the girls are getting older, so the voices are changing up a little bit more. Yeah, I really do like that. While some fans didn't, I found myself liking Metal Galaxy more than their previous two albums. So when their new album comes out, maybe 2021, 2022, 2023, when that does happen, would I review it? Yeah, absolutely I would review it. Unless like Rise Against came out on an album on the same day, because then I'm just all in on that, trust me. But there's a good chance I'd review it. So now taking a look at the persona and the community, doesn't really work out well for this one, and I'm going to say it's a little bit of a wash. And the reason being is because with their gimmick being all about the Japanese pop style, Japanese culture style, and something that's I'm not really that into, it just doesn't resonate well with me, and it does come out in their music. However, there are bands where sometimes this works, and I got to find an example for it. Like, does it similar to Ice Nine Kills the way it hits me? Absolutely not, because Ice Nine Kills, I absolutely love the band. When I first heard their music, I got the gimmick, but the metal and just the craftsmanship of the songs was just so much better there. And then when I listened to their music live and just got that whole entire experience, I mean, I was there hook, line, and sinker. Absolutely loved it. Now, taking a look at the other way about it, yeah, they're my second favorite band. That's just the way it is. And I absolutely love the Silver Scream. And Babymetal just doesn't compare to that. Do I see them in the same level as Slipknot? No, and the reason being is because, say, Slipknot takes off their mask and just plays. Oh my god, Slipknot's going to be the same way. Babymetal isn't. But I see them very similar on a style of Gwar, because Gwar would not be the same if it wasn't for their live show, their gimmick, and the performances. I think Babymetal's the same way. So when I listen to Gwar, I don't really care for their music, but when I saw them live getting the blood bile all over me and just having the party of a lifetime that night, oh man, was I totally down for it. And this is where the uptick comes in, because I could easily see myself having that good of a time with Babymetal, because I saw their live videos. Those concerts look insane. The J-pop energy just hits so much harder, and honestly, that mosh pit looks insane. So that's where I get the uptick in it, where the songs and the music, I'm pretty polarized on. It depends on the style. Their gimmick doesn't necessarily work well with me, but I see on the same style as War, so I'm like in the middle, but I'm a little bit more up in the middle. So kinda yes, I kinda do like Babymetal. Alright guys, that's it for me. So I do kinda like Babymetal. I'm not very full into them, but you know what? I don't think they're bad. So thank you guys for watching this video. The next time I do one of these, probably on Poppy. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, thanks for watching guys. I'm gonna end it with the hat flip. Nope. See ya!